WNST, Tassin, Baltimore, and WNST.net. We are into a wild weekend of baseball here, and of course the Stanley Cup and the NBA happening as well, but I'm spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, and I got a guy here who is one of our defending, returning champions here. He has written a book called Approaching Ali, told some unbelievably wild stories that you can find in our Buy a Toyota audio vault from back in December. Had him on before Christmas. But, I guess when you're one of the foremost experts in the world on Muhammad Ali, there's always something happening. And I know Ali took ill recently, and that was part of a headline as well. And Layla Ali's in the news. But we want to welcome back the defending champion here, Davis Miller, who has spent lots of time over in London. There is a Smithsonian Channel final episode of Sports Detectives this week on the disappearance or the mystery surrounding Muhammad Ali's 1960 Olympic gold medal. And I guess on the eve of Zika in Brazil and all sorts of other Olympian things this summer and lighting torches in 1996 in Atlanta, Ali's name will come up again this summer. And we welcome Davis Miller back onto the program. How's the book doing, Davis? How's life, man?
Nestor, it's good. I'm having a good time. The book is doing well. It's doing particularly well in the United Kingdom, and it's selling reasonably well in the U.S. And as you mentioned, I'm just back from London, where I was curating this exhibition called "I Am the Greatest Muhammad Ali" at the O2. If any of your listeners happen to be going to London, it's a remarkable exhibition.
I'm going to Europe this summer. London's too damn expensive, man. I've priced it out. I mean, they got to get on the euro there or get something going. I mean,
it is. It's the most expensive city in the world, supposedly.
It's ridiculous. What's a cup of coffee cost, or what's a beer cost there this summer?
Serious money.
Right. Yeah.
You got to open a wallet.
That's why I'm not going to see Springsteen at O2. I'm going to Bear C.
Yeah, that's right. And also, the O2. Yeah, I mean, it's apparently the biggest music venue in God, I think maybe the world.
Come on, dude. Zeppelin's only gotten together once in my adulthood, and they did it there. So
did it there. Right. Yeah, that's right. And so that's why we did the exhibition there. And it's had a great turnout. Did a number of interviews at the opening with Muhammad's wife, Lonnie Ali, a number of BBC interviews. I'll probably go back over the summer and take over some new artifacts, though not this missing Olympic gold medal. And so the Smithsonian Channel has this hour-long last episode of Sports Detectives on Sunday night. And they interviewed me pretty extensively, and I kind of contributed in other ways, and they're giving me a good plug for my book, Approaching Ali. So,
give the story about how you met Ali again, because I know we talked about it a few months ago, but it is kind of a crazy story that you grew up a fan who now has had this lifetime of friendship with the man they call the greatest, right?
Yeah, and he is the greatest of all times, as he would say, and I adore him. We've been friends for roughly 30 years. I met him first on Easter weekend, 1988.
He was already the great. He was done boxing then, right?
He had his last bout had been over 7 years before, and he was already pretty deeply Parkinsonian. He already had Parkinson's disease, so he didn't talk much. But I was just clerking in video stores. I was a video store worker, and
this sounds like a Tarantino episode, bro.
It does. I mean, it really does. I mean, and for that reason, we're also talking with people about developing it into a movie now. It's an unlikely happening. I just found out I'd lost my job that day. I was driving home from Cincinnati, the home office of the video chain I worked for, and coincidentally drove past a house I knew to be Muhammad Ali's mother's house, and there was this block-long ivory-colored Winnebago parked in front with license plates that read, "The Greatest."
Are you from Louisville?
I'm not from Louisville, but I lived in Louisville then. I was just, like I said, I was just clerking in video stores. I'm originally from Central North Carolina, from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and had been transferred up there by the company, and then got stuck. They called me to the home office. I thought I was getting a promotion.
There's a lot of people that lost their lives in the video industry in the 80s and 90s, right?
Man, that's the truth.
I think Huizenga made money and nobody else did.
Well, a lot of people made money really early on. You could open a store for about $40,000 and make a make a Trump-level killing almost within a few years.
You know, the only thing I've seen like it, and I've told people this, I've been to Denver twice this year. The Ravens played out there, Springsteen. There's a weed store on every corner, and they're all mom and poppy looking, and they all look like they've been there a week and a half, and they all have a little counter and a little room in the back. I said it's the only thing I could compare it to was in the 80s when there was a video store on every corner. And in Denver, that's the way the weed stores are.
Brown and not exactly attractive and mom and popsy and you know, and that's the world I was in, except that these happened to be little blue stores. They were at least better looking. and I found out I was losing my job. I was hugely depressed. Drive past his mom's house. There's the Winnebago. He's my lifelong hero. I decide, I got to stop and thank the guy for what he's meant to my life. And I work up my courage, go park behind the Winnebago, get ready to knock on the door of it. I mean, I literally have my hand out to knock on the door of the Winnebago, and he opens the door, standing there looking just gigantic, just big as God, and like some grand lighted house on a hill, all lit up. But he didn't talk by then much, and he kind of waved me in with the two his index finger and the finger next to that on his right hand, and did magic tricks for me. We got out in his mom's yard and play boxed, which, you know, I've told you this story before, and people stopped all around the house because it was on a corner lot. There were probably 20 cars parked out there with people cheering and waving, hey champ, while we're dancing around in his mom's front yard. And then after about 5 minutes of that, he leans over and whispers in my ear. He says, "Come on in the house." He invited me in for dinner with his mom and his brother Rockman. Wow. And it felt like an out-of-body experience. My childhood hero, you know, hundreds of millions of people, the hero to them, and I found out on that first night that he was no less Ali than he'd ever been. You know, all the rumors about being punch drunk or being in a nearly vegetative state, none of them were true. You know, he had Parkinson's, but it had made him wise in a lot of ways.
Well, I would say the Parkinson's for him, he is Parkinson's to this generation, right? I mean, he is the most famous Parkinson's.
I mean, in addition to everything else, I'm the most famous Parkinson's victim of all times. I mean, you know, and not to make light of it, but he's had Parkinson's for almost 40 years now. Wow. No one has probably ever had it that long, and I think that speaks to how strong and willful he is. He's absolutely the strongest human being I've ever met. You know, that first night. Again, it felt like an out-of-body experience. It felt like I'd been doing LSD, though I'd never done hallucinogens, and I felt I had to write about it. I'd been trying to make a living as a writer for over a decade, and called up Esquire magazine. The editor just picked out a guy's name I liked the sound of. His name was David Hershey, and I thought about chocolate bars.
Sure, right.
And he bought my idea over the phone. When it was published, the story instantaneously became famous. Launched my career. I got a gig as the boxing editor at Sport Magazine. Kept hanging out with Ali. We got to be better and better friends. 30 years later, there's the book about this friendship approaching Ali, which I honestly believe. I mean, I'm gonna toot my own horn here. I honestly believe is the best ever, most intimate writing about the guy. I'll put it up against Norman Mailer's writing or Hunter S. Thompson's or Tom Wolfe's or anybody's. I'm hearing from people every day who have taken the book into their lives and tell me what it means to them and how deeply it affects them. Particularly if they've ever met Ali. Or just been an Ali fan.
I've met Ali one time at the Atlanta Super Bowl on the crazy ice weekend 18 years ago. Took a picture with him. I was supposed to meet him one day when the movie Glory came out. He was at the Senator Theater, and I took ill that day. I waited in the lobby. He was running late. I never did, get to him. I've never spoken to him. My dad hated Ali. My dad was like the whole Archie Bunker part of the world that, he hated Cosell and Ali, my dad. My dad hated most things because he was, of that generation. And, certainly for Ali, there was the whole race part and the whole, war part and the whole boxing part that played into the 60s and the 70s and where I'm from. But Ali, it is amazing the day that he passes. I mean, all the things we've seen when Michael Jackson and Prince and these other incredible statesmen, famous people and athletes. I can't think of a more beloved character. And you've been been over in the UK. By the way, Davis Miller joining us here. The book is Approaching Ali. There's a really interesting thing happening this weekend. Smithsonian Channel, final episode of Sports Detectives. We'll get into that 1960 gold medal. But you're over in the UK. To say your book is sold more there and that they're doing exhibitions there, it may speak to the fact that in America, we're on to LeBron here, right? We're on to the next thing. I think in the UK, maybe there's something about Ali outside of the country that's still incredibly revered because, let's be honest, I mean, dude spent, let's say, 2 decades, maybe more, as the most famous man in the world, right? Ali.
Yeah, and when you travel the world, and I have some with Ali, and also just with my writing in general, and he's much larger outside the United States than he is in. Here, we respect him, we love him, millions and millions of us love him, but he matters deeply to people around the world, almost as if he's a family member. And that's notably true in the UK, where they've always got a sense of humor. Where your dad, my dad, many dads had difficulty with all that in the United States. In the UK, they loved it because they regard it as cheeky. It's the same way they kid each other. They understand it.
Well, in the end, it was cheeky. It was a big show. I mean, it was Donald Trump before Donald Trump, but it wasn't trying to run the world. It was just trying to, sell tickets for the next pay-per-view with Frazier, right?
He was. And in addition, one difference between, he's every bit as big a narcissist as Donald Trump.
Well, Vince McMahon learned everything he ever learned from Ali, who probably learned everything he ever learned from Gorgeous George, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is with Ali that's very different from Trump is that Ali is also always innocent. There's a childlike quality to his humor. He's a big kid, and he loves people. He's always had this absolute capacity, no matter what's going on in his own life, no matter how tough it may be in the moment, to lift himself up outside of his own troubles and take nurturing interest in almost anybody around him. It's astounding to be around. He treats almost everybody as if they're family. And those are the stories I tell in the book. But in the UK, they get all of that about him, and we don't know that as deeply in the United States. And, when he dies, and I don't know whether we have him 2 more years or 10 more years or 10 more weeks, but when he goes, I think it's going to be immeasurably bigger around the world than Michael Jackson or Prince. It's going to be closer to John F. Kennedy. But an international John F. Kennedy. And Americans, I don't think they realize that. The world will stop. I was in Morocco. It's 20 years this July 19th when he lit the Olympic cauldron. And I was in Morocco working on an assignment for sport and a magazine assignment. And I was going to go hiking up in the Atlas Mountains this morning, and I was coming down to have breakfast in the hotel. And when I got down to the bottom floor, there was this knot of people, Americans, Europeans, Moroccans, clustered around the concierge's desk. And I wonder what's going on. And I get closer, and I see people are crying. And it's Ali at the Atlanta Olympics with his hand trembling. And there's just not a people watching it. It stunned me. I knew something was going on with him, but I didn't know he was going to be in the Olympics. He couldn't tell me, couldn't tell anyone. And I canceled my trip up into the mountains and just got on the streets and started walking. And I was in Marrakesh, and Marrakesh is a busy city. The streets were dead. It was usually full of donkey carts, mopeds, cars, trucks, pedestrians. And people were stopped in front of shop windows watching it, playing and replaying, Ali lighting that Olympic cauldron. And I walked into a souk, the big shopping areas where, all the spices and the Aladdin's lamp, the silver lamps. And
I've never heard a person say a bad thing about Morocco, by the way, ever.
Morocco's a cool place. And I walked into the souks, and everybody there was stopped watching these little portable battery-operated televisions. Where on Moroccan television they were playing Ali, lighting the the Olympic cauldron.
Well, again, the
Over
most
and over
famous
and over
man in the
again.
world at that point. Hey, this Smithsonian thing, 1960 gold medal. Tell me that story real quick.
Well, Ali in 1960 he won the light heavyweight Olympic championship, and he was enormously popular in Rome. You know, I mean, he was Cassius Clay. Nobody'd ever seen anything like him. You know, the mouth, the physical beauty, the buoyant smile and sense of humor, and he loved the Olympic gold medal. He was already saying when he won it, "I'm champion of the world," and he came home and loved this medal, kept it with him, showed it to everyone, wore it to bed, apparently.
Of course,
With it around his
anyone that
neck.
wins a gold medal does that, right? Kind of, sort of.
I bet that's true. And he, and the story goes, there's two versions of the story. One of it is that he was he was refused service at a diner in Louisville because he was black, even though he was wearing the Olympic gold medal around his neck. And he was hurt deeply by that, walked to the Ohio River, walked out into the middle of the bridge that spans the Ohio, which I think is the 2nd Street or 2nd Avenue bridge, and dropped the gold medal into the water, saying, "This ain't worth nothing." And when he couldn't even be served in a diner. That's the legend. The other story is
that the truth, or is that the legend?
You'll have to bring me back on in a couple of weeks. I won't tell you that. I won't tell you. It's not fair to the Smithsonian people to tell you what Ali has told me until after their program airs.
Fair enough. There you go. So there's a reason you need to watch. Okay, I like it.
But the other idea is that he simply lost it. You know, material things don't matter much to Ali. They did when he was still Cassius Clay, but now he says, if you can hold something in your hand, it don't mean nothing. And you know, I mean, he's given away. You know, he's offered me, and it's not because I'm his friend, but when I've been visiting him in Michigan at his home there, he's offered me trophies. You know, the this and that athlete of the 20th century. Just you know, you point to it. You know, and I know he means just take and put it in your car. It's yours if you want it. I never took anything. Now I kind of wish I had, because it would have ended up in the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville instead of, you know, in somebody's basement or living room. But you know, material stuff doesn't mean anything to him, but that's the other story, is that he simply lost it. And the Smithsonian Channel, as part of the Sports Detectives, their only 1 hour show in the series, they're usually half-hour segments, has gone and taken a look and see if they can find what happened to the gold medal. They interviewed me pretty extensively. Interviewed another good friend of Ali's named Craig Mortali, who did a terrific ESPN documentary about Ali in the early '90s.
I remember that.
And yeah, it was called Outside the Lines, and had some great scenes of it. You can maybe pull it up on YouTube or something, but had some great scenes of Ali having his hair dyed in a barber shop on south side of Chicago, talking smack about Mike Tyson, and they interviewed Ali family members, his brother Rahman, his daughter Miriam, who family members and friends call May May, and tried to get to the bottom of it, and they've done a good job with it. It's an interesting segment in their series, and
does it exist? Do we know where it is, the medal, or no?
I've got some clue what happened to it. I'll just leave it with that. You know, again, get me back on, and I'll tell you very deeply what Ali has shared with me.
Davis Miller here. The book is approaching Ali. Hey, you been kidnapped lately?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. That's my new book. That's the one I'll be working on for the next couple of years. I was kidnapped in China or actually in Hong Kong by, of all people, Bruce Lee's mistress. Absolutely true story. And I'm calling
I love Hong Kong. Don't frighten me about Hong Kong.
Oh, boy. I can't go back there anymore. I used to visit there fairly regularly. My second book was called The Tao of Bruce Lee, about how Bruce Lee influenced me. And that's how his mistress, the person in whose bed he died, got hold of me and found me through that and wanted me to write her book. I've told you way too much about that now, because my misadventures with her are going to be my next book, and it's called Escaping the Last Empress.
Well, you know what, Davis? I'm going to make you my own personal Hunter S. Thompson since he's unavailable at this point. So
Yes,
I'll continue to try to check in with you a couple times a year. I have a feeling at some point I got to get a beer with you. So, hey, I appreciate you coming on with these Ali stories. It's always fun having you on. I know you're not out on Twitter. You're kind of on the DL right now and doing your thing. But we'll be following you out there at Approaching Ali. And it's available just anywhere books are sold, right? Amazon, the whole deal, right?
Amazon's got a really good price on it. I actually bought 2 copies of it there yesterday myself. But it's and there's also the website where you can read excerpts from the book, photos. There may even be a little video on there. Photos of me play boxing with Ali, hanging out with him. The website is www.approachingali.com.
Hey, man, try to stay out of trouble, okay, and enjoy yourself, right?
Can't do it. Wish I could.
Dave, it's great having you on, man. Thanks for joining us.
Same here, Nestor. You're a blast, man.
You got it, man. Davis Miller, approachingali.com is the website. And if you're going to buy that book, please do that on our giveaspit.com app. A little kick on that goes to our friends at There Goes My Hero. We'd appreciate that. Do all your Amazon shopping at theregoesmyhero.com. Just download the app, nice and easy. You can find me in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. Our morning newspaper hits your email inbox 7 a.m. each and every morning, and that's free of charge and powered up by Planet Fitness. And if you want breaking news, and who knows what the Orioles are going to be doing up and down on a daily basis, or the Ravens for that matter, you get that on our WNST tech service. That's all brought to you by our friends at Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis is here from 3 until 5 each and every Thursday, keeping you informed and entertained. I hope to keep you entertained out on social media as well. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, anywhere you are, we are. WNST.net, AM 1570 at WNST Taos in Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.